And my sister told me to use a stunt double, and she said to me, you have your whole life ahead of you. You really want to do this yourself.
And another top number.
Yeah. And, you know, the producer in me was like, we got it, we have no time. And, you know, the stunt double was ready. We both had these beautiful blonde wigs. He was stronger, younger, better looking, and more, he was a real stunt man that could have crushed it. And I decided to do it myself. And we had one take, and the result is what you see. But there's a moment where, you know, they kick me, and I throw myself into the air, and Lael, our DP, said, when you land, open up for camera. So I'm not thinking as a stuntman, I'm thinking I'm immersed in the scene. So I get hit, and I throw myself in the air, and it's on a hardwood floor, and I land on my fist, on my ribs, and I break 8 ribs. And it's the sound of like a plastic bottle that's empty, that's kind of crunched. And our producer, who's Slovakian, we're in Bratislava, said, you know, you're not hurt, keep going. And I couldn't breathe, and I knew they were broken. So I was like, so he said, well, it's okay, we're gonna take you to the oldest hospital in Bratislava. I was like, I want the newest hospital. For a new hospital, we're not sightseeing. And unfortunately, he did bring me to the oldest hospital in Bratislava. And by the way, it might have been an insane asylum. It might have been, I'm just being honest. And they sent me home, and I knew I had broken ribs, and I was like, okay, all right, let's play through. And we played through. But it was...
Well, we actually, after that, because they, sometimes x-rays don't catch everything, evidently, or at least new fractures and breaks. So they were like, okay, take it easy. So we actually filmed for 2 more days while he had broken ribs, didn't know they were broken. And that was interesting. It was a lot, it kind of...
I shouldn't say this, but there was one moment, it was very awkward, where I go underwater. I go underwater in the bathtub, and Lael is, I mean, he shot the hell out of this movie. I mean, this guy, I mean, my God. And he had his snorkel camera, which goes underwater with me. And they told me not to get water in my lungs and in my ribs, otherwise.
Which, by the way, I didn't know.
She didn't
at that
know,
moment.
but she kept saying, stay underwater longer. And I just wanted to get the shot, so I did.
You got it, all right. I was going to ask about your cinematographer, especially in terms of the collaboration between your cinematographer and your production designer, because this movie just has such an Art Deco look to it. I mean, it looks fantastic.
We got really lucky. Our producer, Daniel Finkelman, introduced me to Lael, and he was like, yeah, just meet the guy. And he's a guy who had been doing, he'd been behind a camera since like age 15. And he didn't have a ton of feature credits, but he had been doing short form, like nonstop, and was really in demand in Israel and in Europe. And he kind of promised me that to give me a lot of prep time, and I knew I couldn't get that. I knew I couldn't get that from, you know, if we sought out a super famous DP and went after it, it was that kind of collaborative spirit and time is something money can't buy. And he has this this amazing range of things he can do as a DP. He can just put the camera on his back and run around and say yes and improvise, and which is something we really wanted in certain moments. But he also could get the big, beautiful shots and use 4 cameras and shoot dance sequences, and that was amazing. Yeah.
I gotta tell you about the first time we met him, and SHIRA had the Bolex that is used in the film, and we were in your kitchen. You didn't see this moment. So Lael's on the ground with me, and I do this. I go into the splits, right? And at that moment, her daughter walks in, and I'm in the splits with a stranger filming me, and she was terrified.
What's it like to be directed by your sister in terms of it bringing out something that's so much stronger in your performance?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we both come from the theater. We studied with our parents, and so we're kind of on shorthand with each other. And I trust her. And you know, so she's a theater director, so she knows how to direct actors. And I know that sounds, I don't know how that sounds, but so she could, you know, come to me and say, like, give me a little tweak. You know, like when we're backstage and I'm giving the pep talk to my troupe before we go and dance for Hitler, it's a very tricky scene. And there's, you know, it's a really strange sentence, isn't it? Now you see why I didn't get the movie made. I would pitch it to people and they would go, check please. So I'm doing that scene and there's a bunch of layers to it. You know, the stakes of what's gonna happen, all the different layers, and she could just say, like, don't forget to inspire them. You know, like I would, you know, there's so many different layers. I go, shit, that's right. And so she could just like drop these little things in there. And, you know, for all of you actors out there, you know that, like, you know, there are film directors that are so adept with the technicalities of the whole medium, but they're not necessarily from the theater and they can't, like, maybe give you a little tweak like that. But she was always, you know, in there with me, so that, and it was always, you know, we trusted each other and it worked perfectly.
So when you're watching a film, when I was watching the movie anyway, I was thinking, I know it's an independent movie, but it looks like it cost a lot more than it actually did. And then I thought, how many shooting days did you have on this film?
I think originally, how many shooting days? I always
29.
forget. 29?
Yeah.
Okay, we ended up like bargaining for a few more because of the broken ribs.
Oh.
So I think we got it to 30.
How the hell, pardon my French, did you shoot these heavily choreographed scenes and still keep it all under basically 30 days?
It's independent. I mean, my other two features have been indie features. I've also been lucky enough to do some really interesting episodes of TV where it's very fast.
Yeah.
And I keep rolling. That's almost like, that's kind of my basic secret, is to keep the camera rolling and to talk to actors while the camera is rolling and not to go cut, start over, now we're acting. So keeping the spontaneity is almost the most important thing. And I think true with Jeremy, like he's been in something like 80 movies, so I don't really have to, he was very nice, but I don't really have to direct him. I just have to like give him a lot of space and and give him the confidence and freedom and throw in some great actors with him and he'll do his thing and it's beautiful. But yeah, it's what I always say in the beginning is if we can use our budget for anything, let's use it to get more shooting days.
Right. You know, that same thing, because she brought up like shooting for TV is very fast.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got that down after all those years. So did that also help you?
Oh yeah, and like I said in the beginning, everything that I've ever been through, you saw on that screen, everything. So you got to use it all. And yeah, I mean, I have a castmate, Beverly D'Angelo, that's here to play Babs on Entourage. Let's go, Beverly. If she's not still here, I'm gonna kill her. So, you know, we would shoot, you know, massive amounts of pages per day. And we had to, you know, be on our game and be word perfect. And so we're ready for this. And this is what you live for. You know, that's why I never gave up. And it took me 15 years to make this. No one would ever cast me in this role. Ever. Me as the lead and playing tap dancer? I can't believe you guys are even here.
We're all blown away by it, right? I mean, it's... Well, a lot of times when I do like conversations like this, I always talk about the trust between the actor and director, but if you're brother and sister, so that's gotta like, knock down a lot of barriers in terms of like the trust, where, like you say, you didn't have to direct the guy because, you know he's a great actor. So that must have really like made both of your jobs just a little bit easier, or did it?
I think it makes it easier, and we could yell at each other, but we didn't on set, and we were honestly, like, we were so happy to be there. And it was weird because we were in Slovakia. We were one of two countries, it was Slovakia and Austria, that were shut down late because of COVID. And so we were sort of in a weird little bubble, which probably helped us get through the shoot, because people couldn't go out and do, they couldn't.
When did you shoot?
It was the November, December of 2021. Actually.
Right before the Omicron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right around then. Yeah.
What was the last scene you shot? Do you remember, Jeremy?
The last scene we shot wasn't in the film.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah, we did, and oddly enough, it was perfect because I ended up in a spa and going into like a mud bath. I was just covered in mud, and it was just so cleansing. I was like, this is perfect. I was just naked in front of my sister. It was really weird. It was really weird. That's how it ended.
Also, people, actors always talk about like the prep they did to get into character, especially if they're filming on an independent movie where you don't have a lot of time. But in this case, how did you get out of character? How did you let Harold go?